What is going on, guys? Solomon here today. We are bringing you guys a video a little bit more mild today, but I think it's going to be helpful for those of you who may not typically do maintenance on your car, take your car to a place to get your oil changed. I'm going to walk through how to change the oil on Katie's Subaru today. So we just got back from the store. We picked up some Castrol Edge Advanced Full Synthetic 5-way 20, and then a Mobil 1 Extended Performance oil filter, which they state is good for up to 20,000 miles, but we usually change the oil on the Subaru every 5,000, just because that's what you really should do. I don't really see the point when the oil and the filter is less than like $30, why you wouldn't just get some fresh oil in there every 2 or 3 months or 5,000 miles. But you can refer to the service manual. It usually does require 0-weight 20, but we're gonna run the 5-way 20 just because it's gonna be summertime here. It's gonna be really warm. And the first number is usually just the cold weight. So that 20 is the viscosity once the oil warms up. So here in the summertime, you're not gonna be doing any, negative degree cold starts or anything like that, so it'll keep the engine protected. But I'm just gonna try and make a comprehensive guide here, just step by step, the exact tools I'm using, just so if you may be uncomfortable working on the car yourself and you're usually paying somebody a lot more to work on the car for you, that this would maybe give you a little bit more confidence that you could do the oil change and do it right, and have a little bit more control about what oil you're using, what filter you're using. I don't know, that's just nice to kind of do things yourself on your car. That way you know that they're done right. So we're gonna step out into the garage. I'm gonna get the layout of the tools we're gonna use, and I'm gonna start walking you guys through how we're gonna do this. For the tool selection, it's extremely minimal. You'll need a floor jack that is safe and holds pressure. You will need a 14mm socket. Extension, entirely optional. You'll see where the bolt is. This makes it a little bit nicer, but it's not necessary. And then of course a ratchet of any size. There's not much torque that needs to go on the oil drain plug, so really you can pretty much use anything you want. And then a set of channel locks. These are going to be used to remove the oil filter. So this is literally all you need to complete this job properly. So first step, we're going to come into the car. We're going to locate the hood pop button. It's going to be right directly underneath your interior light control. It's a little switch right there. You'll hear it click. You're going to come over to the hood and you're going to pop it up. There's a little switch underneath here that you just have to push to the left, and then the hood opens up. Taking a look inside the engine bay, just for reference, your intake manifold is here, directly down. This is the oil filter. So it's extremely easy to do this job because this is top mounted. There's literally nothing in your way that you can't just get a set of channel locks on there. Or if it was done properly the last time, sometimes you can get it off with your hands, but the channel locks make it pretty easily. And then this is your engine fill area. Before draining the oil, I usually like to loosen this up just to allow air into the system, just to let the oil drain more smooth. So other than that, you're just gonna wanna pop your car up just a little bit. It doesn't have to come off the ground a whole lot, just enough to get an arm under there to pop the drain plug off. So we're gonna get under the car, pop the drain plug, let the oil drain out, and that's all there is to it. Coming under the driver's side of the car, this is a driver's side tire here. You are going to see directly back down beside the downpipe, there's actually an opening right here. This opening is where you're going to find the 14mm bolt to release the oil from the pan. So if you guys can see that there, you're going to be able to pop that off, and then that's going to drain the oil out of the car. So I'm gonna grab that, we're gonna pop it out, and we're gonna let it drain. All right guys, so I have busted the torque off this initially. Usually once you get a few turns off of it, you can then pull the ratchet off and just go up there with your hand and just continue to twist. Usually at this point is when I recommend grabbing your oil drain pan and getting that under the car to catch the oil so it doesn't go over the garage floor. So we're gonna grab that and we're gonna let it fly. And 3, 2, there it goes. Usually never have enough time to get your hand out of the way, but that's all right. So I usually just monitor the process of the draining until it stops dripping. You usually want to wait till it stops dripping. That way you get the maximum amount of old oil out of the engine as possible. And I think we were at that point. So I'm going to slide this out, clean up the floor, and get everything sealed back up. All right, so there we have it. The oil is out of the car. So super important that you don't start the car until we get everything sealed back up and the new oil pumped in. All right, guys, so go ahead and get your drain bolt fastened up with a new crush washer. We're just gonna take that in. I usually like to run it in by hand first and then get the final torque on. So I'm gonna do that. You guys saw, same place. Just run this back in and get the torque on it. I have fed in the the drain plug. What we're gonna do now, the drain plug requires between 20 and 25 foot-pounds of torque. So I can do that kind of by feel, but if you're not comfortable with what that would feel like, it's not very tight at all. You're not going to want to put a whole lot of torque down on this just because it puts more wear and tear on the threads, the drain plug. So if you're not comfortable with kind of feeling what 20, 25 foot-pounds would feel like, I recommend using a torque wrench for this step. But if you know what that feels like, go ahead and just throw that on there. So I'm going to do that now. This next step, this is where the channel locks come into play. I showed you guys where the oil filter was earlier. You're just going to want to expand these to a point where you can get an even amount of force on each side of the oil filter. Keep it nice and level. It shouldn't be very tight at all, and you can see it just starts to easily turn off. At that point, you can pretty much get it off by hand. It just spins off super easily. Stand by for any extra oil to drain out. If the car's been sitting for a little bit, there's usually not much in there. So there is the old oil filter. I'm gonna get a rag. We're gonna clean out that basin there, and we're gonna get the new one put on. I like to take just a rag in this area right here where the O-ring meets. You can see where the real shiny metal is. I just like to get that cleaned up, just so we're not compromising the seal. Usually it's fine, but why not?
He's just cleaning up, people.
Why not do it the right way? Our new Mobil 1 oil filter. Literally the exact same one we just took off. One thing you'll notice, the O-ring on here is dry. You usually want to lubricate that with just a tad of oil. Nothing crazy. Literally just get the tip of your finger wet with the old motor oil. It really doesn't matter, but you're just going to run your finger around there just to lubricate that ever so slightly. And then you're going to take it on and go ahead and just screw that in. Threads are super nice. It goes in by hand super easily. You don't need anything crazy on this foot-pound wise. Do not use the channel locks to retighten this. Usually the channel locks are just needed from the tightening happening over the couple months that it's on there. But if you just tighten that down by hand, that is more than good. So that's the oil filter. Literally the easiest oil filter you could possibly change on a car. I've never seen a car that has that easy of an oil filter. But then again, I've only driven Volkswagens and those are impossible. So next step, we are going to grab the motor oil. If you've skipped ahead to this part, you want to double, triple check that you have your drain plug completely tightened down and ready to go. I do recommend using a funnel because the engine oil is kind of down in there. It's not an area that's kind of more up top. So this funnel's great. It fits right down in there perfectly. And then the Subaru, this motor usually takes around 4.5 quarts of oil. This is a 5-quart jug. So what I like to do is I like to get it down to like right in the middle spot of here, and then we'll just check the dipstick. After that, we'll run it up and down the driveway, get the oil warmed up, and then check the dipstick again, just to make sure we don't need to top it off. So this is the fun part. Putting the fresh stuff in. Yeah, and double triple check you have this in the oil spot and not the windshield wiper fluid. Here it goes. I usually like to stop, check where we're at. Looks like we've inputted right around 2.5 quarts. We're gonna keep it going. All right, check again. Looks like roughly we're right around the 1 quart line, so we got about probably like 3.9 quarts in there as it stands. Gonna give it one more shot, see where we're at. Looks like we're right at that spot I like. So like we got like 4.5 quarts in there right now. Just probably put one more little dollop in. All right, set this aside. Usually with the 5 quart, you can accumulate over a few oil changes, a whole fresh oil change just from the 1/2 quart to quart that you save. Gonna go ahead and pull this out. Make sure you give it a good tap. You don't want to get engine oil all down the side of the car. Go ahead and insert the engine oil cap back on. Make sure you have this nice and tight. This is the last thing you want popping off when you're driving down the road. So there's that. We literally got all that squared away. That maybe took 3 minutes. Next step, get the rag. We got plenty enough time for that engine oil to run down through. We're gonna locate the dipstick. If you notice, it's really nice. They kind of color code engine oil to be yellow. So this is your dipstick. You're gonna wanna pull that out. Give it a clean swipe so you got a fresh reading. Go ahead and throw it right back in. Just watch, it's kind of flimsy, it gets bent. And then we're gonna pull it out and get a reading. Looks like we are roughly directly in the middle. There's a dot there and a dot there. It's probably really tough to see on camera, but you'll have 2 dots. You want the oil to be somewhere in between there, more towards the top dot, which we are. So I would say we are good for oil level. And that is literally it, guys. What we're gonna do now, we are gonna take the car off the jack stand, just double, triple check we have everything nice and tight by hand. Go ahead and drop the hood. We'll take it for a little rip.
Right?
Yep. So you also want to reset your oil counter. We like to use that trip counter, the top one, which is right here, trip reset. So as you can see, we put like 5,000 miles on that oil change. We just got a fresh oil change done. Gonna hold that in. It's gonna reset that trip counter up top of your actual mileage, which is great because then you can keep track of, oh, we hit 5,000 miles, time for an oil change. But let's run up and down the driveway. We'll get this oil nice and warm. We'll get a final reading on the dipstick and we will be done. Let's go. All right, so if you guys aren't already doing this, you can have your oil temperature up on this main dash right here, which is awesome, because you'll know when you can actually start getting on the car and running it nice and hard. But you usually don't want to start doing that until you're right around like the 180, 200 range of oil temperature. So we're just gonna run up and down the driveway, get the oil up to temperature, and then we can get a final reading and make sure that we have enough in the car. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed changing the oil on Katie's car. It was a great time. More R32 content coming this week, more S6 content coming this week. We'll probably actually get 2 uploads. I'm thinking, like, obviously we've been staying really good with the Sunday uploads. I'm shooting to get another video out on Wednesday and then another Sunday upload. Lots of projects nearing their end. There's gonna be a lot of good content of driving these new projects, these new cars. But one thing I have noticed, you guys have been subscribing like crazy. The new videos are getting so many likes. That seriously helps out the channel so much. It makes me happy, so I appreciate it, guys. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.